heavily involved in the mixed martial arts training and Muay Thai and boxing world, training a lot of fighters for over the last 10 years now. One of the common exercises I see for any sort of striking for boxers, Muay Thai fighters, MMA fighters, is these, a band. This is a Sorinex super band, but there are special products made for this, where I see it recommended where you get your boxing stance and you actually shadow box, and you actually go through as if you were punching an opponent, or at least your shadow boxing routine, just as you would. And this is something that's recommended, and like I said, there's a lot of products. I know that you've seen them out there. This is not something that I have ever used with any of my fighters, and it's not something that is integrated in the Performance U training philosophy. It's actually something that I recommend against. Here's why. When you are punching, there's a lot of accuracy and timing involved. So one of the general rules that I've always told people about loading is, if you're loading a power, a force production pattern, like a jump, like a squat jump, or if you want to improve your vertical leap, let's say, then most strength coaches would agree that doing barbell squats is a good way to strengthen your legs in a similar force production pattern. And many athletes can attest to that can increase your vertical leap, and there's some science I've seen to back that up. But, so when you say don't load a skill, I don't necessarily if you'd call jumping a skill, because there's really not much of an accuracy component, it's just an explosive component. But when we have accuracy involved, like a lot of fine-tuning and timing and a certain distancing, let's say a punch or a basketball shot, that's when I have a big problem with overloading. Here's why. Let me give you an example of why the thought process of what's driven me not to ever get involved and get caught up with these rubber band resisted shadow boxing type implements, and to recommend that for any fighters. Let's say you're on the free throw line and you shoot 10 free throws with a regular weight basketball. I don't know how much a regular basketball weighs, but it's pretty light. Great. So then we wheel in 10 2-pound basketballs, weighted basketballs, medicine balls. The first few you shoot are going to be short. Then you start to hone it in a little bit. All right? Now, you hone that a little bit, then we bring you back more normal weight basketballs, traditional basketballs, hardly any weight. What do you think is going to happen to the first shot, or at least the first few shots? Over the backboard, or you're going to throw them way too hard, they're going to hit the top of the backboard and bounce off the backboard. Now, why is that? The movement pattern is the same, but the fine-tuning based on the accuracy changes because the weight was different. Well, we can say the same thing here. When I'm throwing a punch, whether it be a jab, cross, whatever, I don't have a band attached down here ripping me back. The momentum is still carrying me forward. So there's a different force production pattern happening there. Not only that, but if I punch knowing the band is pulling me back, I got to go further. If that band's not there, I may overshoot my punch, strain my elbow. Any boxer, anybody who's got experience boxing knows that if they've thrown a punch and somebody slipped or someone's moved back and you overshot it, it's easy to kind of throw out your elbow. I've done it several times. So that's the reason why I'm not big on using any of those rubber-resisted punching-type movements. And mimicking, this is the key, and using those movements to mimic actual shadow boxing or throwing real punches. If you're holding dumbbells like some boxers do, and they're just doing this just to build up their shoulder endurance, and not really throwing punches, they're just kind of throwing their arms out there to deal with gravity, to build up that shoulder endurance, kind of standing here and things like that. I'm totally cool with that. I used all that kind of stuff. But we're looking at building endurance there. But when it looks at resisting, when we're talking about resisting shadow boxing with a band, that's not something I've ever used with fighters, not something I recommend any fighters do, and I just gave you the reasons